Assalamualaikum. We would like to present on the Balanced Scorecard. I am the first presenter, ARISYA, and along with my other group mates, Iklil, HANIF, and FAIZ. There will be a brief introduction on Balanced Scorecard and the implementation as well as its benefits. After that, we will discuss on the challenges and issue arises on implementing the Balanced Scorecard. So what is Balanced Scorecard? It is actually a performance management tool which is to help organizations implement the organizational strategy by transforming their vision and strategy into action. It comprises a set of measures that allows the stakeholders to get a fast but comprehensive view of the business and provided feedback to the companies by identifying its internal business functions. So who invented Balanced Scorecard and basically how it created? It developed by Robert Kaplan and David Norton in 1992, which they originally wanted to address the limitations on the traditional performance measurement, which with this, most organizations back then relied mostly on financial measures such as profit, return on investment, and mainly focus on the short term. Meanwhile, with the establishment of Balanced Scorecard, it focuses on the long-term strategy that measures financially as well as non-financial aspects. In Kaplan and Norton's Balanced Scorecard, it mentioned three key structural features, which firstly, its measures are derived from strategy. Since the main purpose of the Balanced Scorecard is to help implement strategy, it must measure those activities which lead to strategy implementation, which drives the selection of measures. The second one would be there is a balance among measures in terms of the number of perspectives of performance, which each perspective should have a similar number of indicators, and again, there should be financial and non-financial measures. The third element is the linkages between the different measures within each performance across the four perspectives, which is called cause and effect linkages. These are four perspectives to the Balanced Scorecard which serve as a framework for organizations to begin using the Balanced Scorecard. The arrows in between indicate the cause and effect linkage or relationships. Now we are looking at the financial perspective. It defines the organization's growth which relates to profitability of their strategy. For example, efficiency of cost reduction by cutting expenditures and revenue growth. And in terms of internal business process perspective, it depends on how well a company are operating, and the performance can be measured by the managers to know whether the products and services efficiently and effectively satisfy the customer's needs. For instance, through operation management process by improved cost or quality and cycle times. In terms of customer perspective, what companies need to ponder here is that on how do customers see them? What would be the process for which an organization provides a product or service to its customers? For example, firstly, in terms of low-cost leadership, which companies can have a smooth purchase processes and deliver consistently and faster with low cost and quality products. The last one will be the learning and growth perspective, which is all about developing the capabilities and processes needed for the future that create value for their customers and shareholders. For example, this perspective can include such as employee satisfaction, hours of employee training, and alignment of employee skills with jobs. Now we move on to the implementation in government-linked companies, which these companies are direct controlled by the government of Malaysia, but not 100% owned by the government. The government only holds a significant controlling stake, such as Khazanah Nasional Berhad, EPF, and etc. We choose GeoMotion, which is one of the GLC, on a case study that adopting Balanced Scorecard. GeoMotion is actually a private transportation infrastructure operator. And prior to the adoption of the Balanced Scorecard, they uses general performance indicators which they found problematic as the guidelines were not adequately specific and the measures were not precise. Then they believe that Balanced Scorecard is more comprehensive and integrate the aspects of non-financial measures. So firstly, GeoMotion would set its strategic objectives and targets with KPIs. With the financial KPIs were the requirement to achieve a targeted return on equity, earnings before interest, tax and depreciation and amortization. The non-financial KPIs is employee training hours and employee engagement index. Once KPIs have been set, they implement the company's strategic plan, which represent a set of measures through Balanced Scorecard framework, which identified with the four perspectives. They focus on exceeding customer satisfaction through Airport Service Quality Survey Award, and in terms of financial, they aim to improve its profitability and cash flow and effective portfolio management. And in terms of internal process, they want to enhance an efficient process management through its CIM initiatives. And the last one is that Geomotion Learning and Growth Perspective focus on developing highly competent personnel through training. Geomotion indicates the critical success factors in the successful implementation of Balanced Scorecard, which consists of top management commitment, communication, information technology, and organizational culture.
After knowing how Balanced Scorecard works, let us look at how beneficial Balanced Scorecard is. The initial implementation of Balanced Scorecard was adopted by Kaplan and Norton. However, as has been mentioned before, there are stages showing improvements of Balanced Scorecard from time to time. So, from that, the company could optimize the usage of Balanced Scorecard as a tool to ensure a better performance. Some of benefits gained from the usage of Balanced Scorecard are better and structured approach to design strategy, better management information, and also encourage long-term strategies and vision. So the first one, structured approach to design strategy. Balanced Scorecard provides a real, relevant and complete view of business performance. The Balanced Scorecard concept has in many ways shifted the thinking away from a sole focus on financial information to also consider other non-financial indicators of performance, which makes the organization more forward-looking. Balanced Scorecard deals with different perspectives, not just financial data alone, which previously was adopted in traditional management system, but also deals with customers, internal process, and learning and growth perspective. Besides, the usage of Balanced Scorecard also helped to reduce the overemphasis on financial measures, or in other words, Balanced Scorecard provided a more holistic and structured view. By doing so, it shows a balanced representation of reality. So the second one is better management information. Balanced Scorecard as a tool for communicating and visualizing the strategy in organization. The usage of strategy maps is extremely visual, which helps the organization to interpret the whole picture of process and strategies. It helps to facilitate useful discussion about strategies, ability, and progress, which lead to easy communication among people in the organization. Not only was the upper level able to know and understand the strategies, but the employees also could understand the strategies easily. By having an effective communication and visualization, it creates motivational effects as a result of more explicit targets and incentives. It also provides managers with reassurance that they are on the right track and helps to ensure that everyone in the organization works toward the same goals, which we can call as goal alignment. Thus, it decreases the barriers of communication and also reduce high failure rate as people in organization assist each other to achieve strategic goals. So the last one is encourage long-term strategies and vision. As mentioned by Madsen and Stanham 2014, the main benefit of Balanced Scorecard lies in the usage of strategy maps. With the usage of strategy maps, organizations are able to obtain insight into the business operation. It helps managers to focus and prioritize on what is important in the long run. Balanced Scorecard focuses more on the value drivers. It helps to improve goal congruence and increase the awareness of how the current action taken could affect the organization's long term. For instance, one can get early warnings by keeping an eye on developments in non-financial indicators such as customer satisfaction. So through that, companies may improve their understanding on how the activities affect the organization's long-term goals.
Despite the benefits promised by the Balanced Scorecard explained by Sister Iklil just now, studies show that there are several challenges in the implementation which may hinder the achievement of its benefits. So I, Muhammad Hanif, will be explaining some of the challenges encountered by the companies during their implementation of BSC. Basically, to implement an effective BAC, a company is required to have adequate resources and expertise as well as dedication and communication between management and employee. However, most companies experience lack of these aspects, which make the implementation to be quite challenging. Let's look further on each of these challenges. First, lack of information. Study by Angeline 2005 showed that lack of information ranks second as the challenges encountered by 278 sample of Malaysian companies. The Balanced Scorecard that had been introduced is a framework, not a template. Hence, it is required by the company to modify and develop it accordingly, as different industry will have different unique features which result in different objective measures and target to be used in each of the firm. For instance, in developing objective measure and targets in the customer perspective, lack of information on customer preference could be a challenge. Plus, it is also challenging for a company to translate the corporate goals into divisional objective while making sure the relevance, clarity and linkage between the four perspectives are easily understood by the employees. Osman 2006 reported that companies experience difficulty in establishing linkage between perspectives, which make it more like a guesswork and assumption due to lack of information. Other than that, it is a challenge for a manager to agree on non-financial measure, as this information is often subjective and difficult to be quantified. This will also make the data collection harder to automate, which relates to the next challenge, lack of technological support. In similar study of Angeline 2005, it is reported that most companies in Malaysia experience lack of technological support to implement BAC. Technology is required to implement Balanced Scorecard, especially by the large companies that have more complex business environment. Instead of using a physical card or simple application, it is believed that specialized application software is required to implement the Balanced Scorecard. There are various ready-made software available in the market, but some of them may not have certain specific features needed by the firm. While modifying the software will need IT-related expertise, the alternative of developing its own software will require not just expertise but a lot of cost, as well as exposure to the risk of failure. Even if the software has all the required features, training is still needed to ensure the competency of the employee to fully utilize the software. Study by Ismail 2017 also showed that inadequacy of information system is the main obstacle of BAC implementation. Last but not least, research showed that most companies reported that lack of communication is one of the challenges in implementing BAC. Once the BAC is built, measures and targets are agreed by the managers. Many of them assume that that will be smoothly followed by the employees and all the required data will be reported without any problem. Updata 2019 stated that this is a misconception, as communication is needed to prevent any misinterpretation on the decided objective measures and targets. As Balanced Scorecard often built using simple and precise wording, a longer explanation should be given by the management to avoid any ambiguity in terms of the strategy initiative as well as its expected target. Besides, the required information reported in the BAC needs to be persistently monitored by the top management. They then have to critically evaluate the information to know the company's position on achieving the corporate goal. However, Chavan 2009 suggests that there is lack of continuous commitment from the top management, making it as one of the challenges to the company, especially when there is a need of reviewing the relevance of the defined measure. The defined measure should be bound to the needs of changes when there is a shift in the internal and external environment of the business. Hence, it is a challenge for the company to ensure continuous commitment from the top management. That's all for me. I pass to the next presenter.
My name is FAIZ bin TERMIZI. As Hanif already explained about the challenges in implementing BAC, next we are going to see the issues regarding the relevancy of the Balanced Scorecard itself to be used as the organization performance measurement tool. First of all, the issues is regarding the absence of external focus in the performance measurement tool analysis. Relo 2004, Gomez and Romao 2016 and Finch 2017 has elaborated the Balanced Scorecard may give a broader internal focus, but they do not give a full external picture. As a default, the tool will consider the customers and clients, but it does not factor in other key performance indicators such as the competitors or changes to the business environment. This can be seen from the fact that there are less to none attention is paid to the movement outside the organization, which can be decisive for many organizations. As the external environment is changing over the time, BAC may be proven not enough to conclude and measure the performance analysis. For instance, BAC is incapable to answer the question related to the competitors' movement. Additionally, the BAC does not evaluate the significant changes in external conditions. Hence, when the external analysis is out of the picture, it could lead to an overemphasis on internal performance and lack of awareness of external factors that could also influence the company's operations. Secondly, the BIC enables an organization to transform strategy into tangible performance measure, but by limiting performance measure to 4 categories, it introduces rigidity. Walpole in 2005 explained that rigidity is evident when the 4 performance measurement categories form the basis of defining key success factors. The BAC thus forced managers to put success indicators into one of the 4 categories. The result of the BAC will limit the view of an organization by leaving no room for cross-perspective that have a combined strategy on strategy execution. Although Marr in 2008 stated that the BAC has evolved throughout the years where the company could improvise and innovate a new perspective that suits the operation, however, Moylan in 2007 and Awadallah and Adam in 2015 explained the concept might not be sufficiently appropriate for the firms in highly dynamic business environment where managers will have to modify their strategies frequently or change them altogether. This will result in increased uncertainty about the usefulness of defined key indicators. Thus, for firms operating in highly dynamic environments requiring frequent changes or modification to strategies, establishing performance measures to go with the modification become both difficult and challenging. This will then lead to a cumbersome practice where the managers and employees need to constantly update and report to revamp the data to suit the operation. Lastly, Hristov and Shiriko in 2016 said that a balanced scorecard may result in selective focus of the performance measures. Since BIC outlines what the organization's strategy and all the areas that will be measured, employees will start paying attention to these areas so that they can get high reward through good performance in these areas. They will ignore areas that won't be assessed because they won't get reward from these areas, and this can become a weak point of the organization. Further, there is a danger of an organization neglecting success indicators that do not fall into one of these 4 categories. Therefore, the selective focus will lead to employees and managers focusing on their personal motive and jeopardize them in performing in the best interest of the company as a whole.
To conclude, balanced scorecard is a useful concept as a tool for an organization to have a more diversified measurement performance. Although it brings benefits in giving better management strategies, management needs to keep revising and updating the balanced scorecard with relevant and useful information, as well as updating the usage of current technology in order to stay relevant and competitive in the market. That's all from us.